Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome to Breakfast in the Class. Breakfast in the Class today is sponsored and dedicated for the Beracha and Hatzlacha of the Mexican group that attends Lakewood annually, sponsored anonymously. Also dedicated in loving memory of Annette Cohen, Alea Shalom, Lilu Nishmat Chana Bat Leah, sponsored by her son David A. Cohen. And in loving memory of Rosa Waknin, Lilu Nishmat Rosa Bat Mas'ud, sponsored by her brother Gabriel Amos, and Refuah Shlema for Chana Bat Simma Fega and Eliyahu Shimon Mezaf Fortuné. In loving memory of Willie Wallerstein, Lilu Nishmat Zev Ben Sarah Leah and Tzvi Hirsch. Allah Shalom for Shiloshim, sponsored by his grandkids, Aviela and Albert Azrak. The week of Cobra was sponsored by David Yash in honor of you, my friends. I also want to wish a special Mazal Tov and Mabruk to the entire Chafif, Dayan, Freed families for this special wedding last night. It was really filled with so much love, so much energy, so much joy. It was really, really very special. And we wish the happy couple only nahat, only mazal, only biriyut, only atzlacha parnasa, bezat Hashem banim ubanot oskim b'torah u'mitzvot. As well, we also would like to wish our condolences to our a pillar of our minyan for many, many years, to Maurice Silvera, on the passing of his sister Bolisa Bat Rachel, Ruach Adonai Tenichena Began Eden. We wish the entire Silvera family only nechama, comfort, and simachot from here on out, inshallah. My friends, let us begin. The pasuk tells us something incredible. Hatzur tamim paolo kichol derachav mishpat el emunah ve'en avel. Sadiq v'yashar hu. The Brazilians all love this pasuk because they have Paolo in the pasuk, and they love that. Hatzur tamim Paolo, right? The rock. What does that mean? Hashem is a rock, and He is complete. He is perfect. Hashem is a perfect rock. I want you to think about that for 1 minute. Just if we could think about this pasuk, and I want to share with you that the process of learning Torah is not an accumulation of facts. It's not remembering trivia. It's not information. It's not education. It's transformation. Any Torah which does not transform the person is not Torah. Torah was meant, designed, given to us by God to change us, to morph us, to improve us. And if your Torah is not improving you, then it's not Torah. So let's take a look at what this means. Hatzur tamim paolo. God is a perfect rock. What is the nature of this tzur, of this rock? It's something that you rely on. But there's a perfection to the fact that you rely on Borei Olam. I remember when I took a group of students to Israel, so we went to the Kotel. And as we're praying in the Kotel, so everyone's coming, they're very excited, they weren't so religious, they're coming, they want to write a note and put it in the wall. Like, you go to that fountain, in Italy, and you throw a penny in. You go to, this tourist attraction, and you do that. You feed the monkeys in Gibraltar, and you put a note in the wall at the Kotel. That's what for them, it was a tourist attraction-y thing to do. But I said to them, guys, before you go down, you write as many notes as you want. But I want you to understand what is happening here. This wall is the last remaining wall of the outside of the Beit HaMikdash. It was a place where Jews would come to pray, to pour their hearts out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to ask Him for their salvation. They leaned on God in their most difficult times, V'hu ya'anim, like the pasuk says. Korim el Amonai, they would call out to God in their difficult times, V'hu ya'anim, and He would answer them. I said, instead of just writing a note and putting it in the wall, I want you to go to the Kotel, take 2 steps away from the wall, so you're not next to it, and then lean on your tiptoes, and put both hands on the Kotel, and put all your weight on the wall. And I want you to feel that there's no weight on your feet, all of your weight is being held up by the Kotel. That's what a person's supposed to feel like when they pray to God. Hashlech Hashem Yehovcha. Throw your package, your burden, your weight, throw it onto God. That's what it means, Hatzur Tamim Paolo. This rock which is here to support you. It is perfect. It can support you in all of your times. And in fact, it's one of the things that we tell in Avel. We say, "Hamakom yenachem etchem, tinuchamu min hashamayim." We tell a person that in this situation, there's nothing that could bring you comfort. There's no one that could bring this person that you love. There's no one that could bring them back. But they are in the hands and the arms of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And God can bring you comfort. I will never forget the statement that Rav Hutner wrote to one of his students. One of his students was suffering after a loss. It was very, very difficult. I think he lost his mother at a very young age. And Rav Hutner wrote him a letter to be mechazek his student. And he ended the letter, I can't tell you, just the ending of this letter is magnificent. He wrote, Lenachemcha, to comfort you, eni yodea. I have no idea how. Aval yesh mi sheyodea. But there's someone who does know. Hamakom yenachem etchem. B'toch sa'ar ve'on tziyur Yerushalayim. God will comfort you amongst the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. My friends, this idea that no matter how difficult a person's situation is, they could lean on, they could rely on God. Hatzur tamim paolo is something that a person is not supposed to read in the Torah. They're supposed to drive into their bones. What problem do you have? Stop for a second right now and think, what problem do you have that no one can solve but Him? Take the problem, imagine it in your hands, and give it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Nisalev avenu al kapenu. We raise, we put our heart in our hands, says the pasuk in Echa, and we raise that up to Shamayim. We give it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everybody has. A lot of people are just better actors than other people, but everybody's carrying a package, and a package is not heavy if you have to hold it for a minute. The longer you hold on to something, the heavier it is, even if it weighs almost nothing. If you try this, take a cup of coffee and hold it out like this, not for a minute or two, for 2 hours. What does a cup of coffee weigh? Nothing. After 2 hours of holding it like this, your arm starts shaking. 3 hours later, eventually you can't even lift your arm up. Even if there's nothing in your arms, if you're holding something up, even if what you're holding is imaginary, but if you feel like you're holding something, your arms are outstretched, after a certain amount of time, what happens? Your arms begin to feel tired. You can't even lift them anymore. That's what it means, Hatzur Tamim Paolo. But the Pasuk then quantifies what this means. Ki kol derachav mishpat. Because all of his ways, mishpat, are justice. Now, I must share, there's times when a person feels like they're not getting the support that they need from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's times that a person feels like God gave them a raw deal, like they say. And I think the Pasuk is communicating that. The Pasuk is telling you, I want you to understand what I mean when I say God is a perfect support. Kichol derachav mishpat, because all of his ways are justice. El emunah, he is a God that can be, you can put your faith in. Ve'en avel. And the Chachamim want to understand, what do these words mean? Ve'en avel. Avel means someone who does something wrong. Someone who does something that's a terrible thing to do. Right? When we talk about Rishaim, the Psukim to call them, right? Po'ale avel. People who do evil. The word avel and evil is the same word. That's where the etymology comes from. So listen carefully. You're talking about God here. What are you going to say in avel? That's how you talk about Hashem. He's perfect in avel. He doesn't do anything terrible. And the answer is, my friends, why are we saying that? That's not a big deal, is it? I mean, this is a nice guy. He listens to the class all the time. Mr. Nurafshan. Hazaku Baruch. Long time listener, first time attender. Hazaku Baruch. Yeah, imagine, it seems like a very nice guy. I said, this guy, he never punches old ladies and steals their purse. I mean, that's not something that you measure, because any normal guy doesn't do that. Only a hardened criminal would try and do that. It's a strange thing. why are we praising God by saying Ein Avel? You know what the answer is? A lot of times, when a person feels that God gave them a raw deal, or a person feels like they're not being supported by God, you have to recalibrate and ask yourself, well, what is that saying? What is what I'm feeling saying? And let me explain what I mean by that. Yesterday, I finished my class, and I got an urgent phone call that I had a flood in my basement. Teaching class on a Sunday morning, my wife has to deal with this now. I'm riding home, it's pouring rain, but I gotta rush home because there's a flood. So I'm driving home on my scooter in the pouring rain, I'm soaking wet, my wife has to deal with this until I get there. She's stressed out, she can't reach me because I'm teaching Torah. And I'm thinking to myself, God, what are you doing to me? What are you doing to me? What was I doing? I was teaching Torah on a Sunday, on a day off. Not one class, two classes. This is what Zu Torah, Vizu Schara. Is this Torah and is this its reward? My friends, that thought is Ve'en Aver. The Pasuk is telling you, even having that thought, what are you saying? You're saying that God is Mishalem Ra'ah Tacha Tova, that God's going to pay back something good with something bad? In the end, what happened? I got to my house and there was a flood. But Baruch Hashem, the system that you have in your house to be able to deal with it was working perfectly. So you're sitting there complaining, Hashem, how are you doing this to me? Hashem's like, how am I doing this to you? I was saving you. How are you doing this to me, Hashem? I'm real teaching Torah. Correct. That's why I allowed everything to work perfectly. That's why what you experienced was bad, but not nearly as bad as what it could have been. Person sometimes feels, I can't believe this person died. Everybody passes away. What kind of life did they have? That's Ein Avel. And a lot of times, the challenge that a person goes through to feel this emunah, to feel this connection with Hashem, to feel that tzaddik v'yasharu, that he's just, says the Chafetz Chaim, to quote him again, says the Chafetz Chaim, they're missing the first part of the pasuk. Ki chol derachav mishpat. God's justice is not in one way, in one road. It's ki chol derachav. Was a person given other things that made it worthwhile? Did a person live a long life, even if, unfortunately, they passed away at some stage? Was a person who was given, or wasn't given money, was he given a beautiful personality or a beautiful disposition? Did he have great friends? You see, in order to be able to recognize if God is tzaddik v'yasharu, we have to look at all of the roads. Ki chol derachav, all of the roads, mishpat. My friends, one of the funny things about moving from Deal, as a Deal boy, to Manhattan, I mean, I took a couple stops along the way in Israel and in London, but one of the things about being a Deal boy and moving to the city is, in Deal boys, we never heard of a one-way street in our lives. There's one-way street in Deal, in the whole of Deal. I have to be a real Deal boy to even know where it is. Anybody know where it is? Right parallel off of Norwood, behind Deal Road. Behind Deal Food. If you go behind over there, behind Beit Yosef, there's one road over there. The road from behind the pizza shop and it used to be the pizza shop. Behind Sarah's tent and Beit Yosef, that road behind. There's one street in Deal that I know of that's one way. Over here in Manhattan, every street is one way. Imagine a guy sitting there at the end of 63rd Street. He's like, I don't understand. How am I supposed to get anywhere? I need to go to the east side, but the street is going this way. I don't know what to do. It's not fair. What are you doing to me? I was teaching Torah. Da, 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 da. Hashem's like, moron. 62nd Street goes the other way. 64th Street goes the other way. Do you understand? A lot of times, a person is crying and kvetching and upset about a road that's not going the way that they want. But Hashem is kichol derachav mishpat. His justice is only seen when you take into account all of the roads and all of the directions that all of those roads go in. And oftentimes a person is stubborn and they're telling God. The other day I was standing with someone, we were talking about his parnasah. And he said, Rabbi, we need to pray to Hashem that Hashem does this. I don't remember exactly what it was. I'll give you an example. He said, let's say it was real estate. Should we need to pray to Hashem that that the mortgage rate comes down? Yeah. And I said to him, we don't have to pray to Hashem that the mortgage rate comes down. Don't be busy teaching God how to run his economic plan. What other possible ways are there for a person in real estate to be able to make money even with a high mortgage rate? Well, the banks could be lending people at a higher rate. There could be more money in the system, so people are capable of paying a higher rate. There could be some sort of program that the state introduces to give landlords a benefit or sales, take down the sales, the mansion tax or the sales tax on acquired. There's 94 different ways that you could still make money without changing that one thing. But here you are praying about this one thing, and Hashem says, I'm not prepared to do that. But you got so busy telling God how to run his economy that now you stopped yourself from getting what you needed. Because God, kichol derachav mishpat, when he uses all of the roads at his disposal, he arrives at mishpat, but you chose to use only one. I'll give you a powerful example of this that I recently shared in a shiur in Panama. The pasuk tells us something amazing. The pasuk says that the nations that were living in the Negev came down to fight against the Jews. Okay? And they were Canaanim. The Canaanim that were living in the Negev came down to fight against the Jews. And the pasuk says that the Jewish people prayed to Hashem and they said, please Hashem, if you give me et ha'am hazeh, this nation, in my hands, then I promise you we will give the spoils of war, we will give it to tzedakah. Rashi on the spot quotes Chazal, something unbelievable. He says, what is this? The nation that lives in the south, the Canaanim, they prayed for the Am Hazeh. Says Rashi as follows, something unbelievable. Who lives in the south of Israel at the time? Not the Canaanim, the Amalekim. Amalek. So who's this that's coming to attack the Jews? Our age-old enemy, the Amalekim. Why does it call them Canaanim? Says Rashi, quoting the Midrash, that they tried to trick the Jews. And what did they do? They started speaking, instead of Amalekite, they started speaking Canaanite language to fool them into thinking that who were they fighting against? Not Amalekim, Canaanim. Why did the Amalekim pull this trick? It's unbelievable. Says the Midrash, Rashi quotes, because they knew that the Jews would pray to God that he should save them in this war. And if they could trick the Jews into thinking that they were Canaanim, then the Jews would pray to win the war against the Canaanim. And if they prayed to win the war against the Canaanim, then they would not have prayed to win the war against the Amalekim. Do you understand how Amalek treats the prayer of the Jews? If only, I give us a beracha, if only every person listening to this broadcast, here and abroad and other places, if only we would believe in the power of our tefillah as much as Amalek believed in our power of tefillah. They were so sure that if we prayed that Amalek should lose the war, that they would lose, that they had to figure out how to get us to pray that we should win the war against the Canaanim. What did the Jews do? The Jews on the other hand, they said, oh, Lee, they're speaking like the Canaanim, but they're still dressed like Amalek. We don't know if it's Canaani or Amaleki. So what did they do? They didn't pray for Canaanim. They didn't pray for Amalekim. They said, Ha'am hazeh. Save us from this nation, whatever the heck they are. Now, first of all, we learn how powerful tefillah is from this. How powerful each word in tefillah is. But we also learn this idea, ki chol dirachav mishpat. That if you're trying to tell God, I want to win the Canaanim, God says, sure, no problem. I'll keep that on record for when they attack you at some future point. Don't tell God how to save you. Don't think that there's one way for God to be able to bring a problem that you have to its resolution. You know why? Because Hatzur Tamim Paolo, he's a perfect support system. He knows how, if you have the bitachon in him, the emunah in him, he knows how to solve your problem, your challenge, your issue. You know why? Because he was the one who gave you your problem, your issue, your challenge. My friends, if that's the case, then we look at this pasuk, and the pasuk becomes the most poignant of prayers. Hatzur Tamim Paolo. Hashem, your support is infinite. It's perfection. And I don't know how I'm going to get out of this situation. Hashem, like Rav Hutner says, I don't know how. But you, Yesh Misha Yodea, there is someone who knows how. With the plethora of ways at your disposal, Hashem, help me. Sometimes you need to succeed in this business. But sometimes Hashem wants your business to fail because you're not in the business that was proscribed for you to make the amazing amount of parnasah that is set aside for your blessing. In Avil, I can promise you this. If you're doing the right thing, and it seems like things are not going the right way, know this. God is not a criminal. God doesn't pay back favors with Yisurim. And to think that is to say that about God. When we complain about life, this is bad and this is horrible, at the worst day, at the worst quarter, this is bad, that's bad. Complaining about life is complaining about God. So let's reset the way we think, the way we feel, the way we experience. And you know what? It's okay for me to not have the entire blueprint right here, right now. It's okay. Because you know what? All of my weight, all of my heaviness, all of my anguish, there's this beautiful big boulder over here. I'm just going to lean against it and let that hold me for a while. Hashem should bless us always to feel, not only to be underneath His wing, not only to be supported by Him, but to feel as supported and as loved as we actually are. Baruch Adonai Le'olam.